suffocating darkness of the cave held a chilling weight, pierced only by the wild, haunting cries that bounced off the stone walls. The goblins were in the midst of a frenzied celebration, reveling in the death of their leader. Amid the chaos, one goblin with bloodshot red eyes, gripped by madness, roared his claim to leadership. Yet another goblin, his comrade, bristled with fury. He believed he had earned the right to rule through sweat and blood. With a vicious snarl, envy twisting his face, he lunged forward, sinking his teeth into his rival's nose. The cave erupted into pandemonium, echoing with shrieks as the two tore into each other. However, amidst the excitement, they discussed bringing the prey out to satisfy their desires. Some goblins hesitated because the prey was protected by a different goblin. He was unlike the other goblins. While other goblins wore simple clothes to cover their private parts, he had covered himself with tattered clothes that covered almost his entire body. And when the leader died, they believed that this different one would keep the prey for himself. They stared at the strange goblin. They would follow him and snatch the girl. When they had the chance, some smarter goblins, they suggested waiting a little longer because their strongest members had gone ahead to find the prey. They were planning to let the strange goblin fight. Knowing that the girl was in danger, the strange goblin decided to run back to where she was being held captive. With his speed, he easily lost the other goblins. When he arrived at the location, he was horrified to find the rebellious goblins ready to violate the girl. The girl begged for help, her eyes wide with fear. He spoke to them, telling them to release the girl, the leading goblin, and refused this request, and this prey was his. The strange goblin didn't care about that. He was determined to protect this girl. Seeing this, the big goblin and his henchmen decided to attack and kill the strange goblin. The odd goblin was swiftly defeated owing to outnumbering, yet he persisted. In addition to not wanting to die here, he didn't think he could be defeated by these inexperienced goblins. Taking advantage of the situation, he killed the largest goblin with his sword, frightening the others. They were immediately startled by these remarks and the sight of the giant being slaughtered. The other goblins ran away while yelling threats. When the other goblins went, they would come back with more to defeat him. This girl's name was Khalees. She supported him and thanked him for saving her once again. She could tell that he was different from the other goblins. He had never harmed her. She hoped he wouldn't die. It is true that a goblin would never protect a human. He was a human. A few days ago, Lin Tian died in a terrible accident. He didn't expect that. Instead of meeting God after being hit by a truck, he was transferred to another world with a system. However, his system wasn't fully activated yet. It appeared to be quite useless and only had the ability to view certain statistics, but ever since he met Kelly, she has explained to him the significance of those statistics in the world. Humans had shown their place on this continent by exercising ultimate dominance, and the gods that governed this world had numerous strong monsters. Unfortunately, he was resurrected as a goblin, who was the dirtiest and weakest monster in the planet. Currently, he was level 5, HP 20, Strength 5, Defense 5, and these stats gave him an overall strength of 30. However, there was still a way for him to become stronger here, and that was through mating with girls. Goblins were capable of becoming stronger through constant mating and procreation. However, they do not have a female gender, so they could only mate with other female creatures. That's why goblins constantly plundered and kidnapped women. Lin Tian, a former human, found doing so completely against his morals, but to survive he had to be stronger. This issue always worried him. Seeing Lin Tian's worry, the girl told him not to think too much. After spending days with him, she knew that he was completely different from the other goblins and really didn't want to live with them. With a hopeful smile, she promised that when the knights came to rescue her, she would tell them about how he saved her. Because the knights were always fair and just, they would surely agree to let him live in her village. Her optimism gave Lin Tian hope. He believed what she said. He was full of hope even if the system couldn't activate immediately, as long as he persevered until the humans came to rescue them and gained the protection of humans, he could survive. Then he could slowly figure out a way to fully activate the system. However, things weren't as easy as Lin Tian had hoped. A scream, a sign of the goblins returning to them without hesitation. He ordered Kelly to hide and she obeyed. Immediately, the first goblin appeared. It charged wildly at Lin Tian, screaming that humans had appeared and that it wanted to mate with the girl to become stronger because it knew that once it became stronger it wouldn't be killed. The goblin ran frantically looking for Kia. However, its haste made it an easy target for Lin Tian, who quickly killed the unfortunate goblin. Lin Tian quickly informed Kelly that humans were here to save her. Kelia's face lit up with joy. She assumed it was a knight. She said she would go out to check. Lin Tian looked at her with concern. The appearance of a knight meant Khalees would be saved and perhaps an opportunity for him to prove his worth.
Next episode of this manhwa will be released when this video hits 2,000 views or 200 likes. So be sure to like this video to get another episode of this amazing manhwa.
But his excitement was stifled when he saw a knight easily killing the other goblins with his strength. The knight wasn't putting in much effort to deal with the goblins. This human seemed to be venting his anger, clearly complaining that these filthy creatures. Seeing the human stats, Lin Tian was incredibly surprised. His name was Loader, level 25 with strength, 30 in defense, 50 equipped with platinum armor and an iron sword with a total power of 400. This was the highest stat Lin Tian had seen since coming to this world, making him question if Loader was actually human while Lin Tian stood in place. Amazed at how easily the human dealt with the goblins, Kelly excitedly approached, addressing Loader, delighted to see him. However, Lin Tian quickly noticed that Loader was raising his sword to attack Khalees. With quick reflexes, he pushed her away from the attack just in time, despite saving Khalees from death. The sudden attack baffled Lin Tian. The Holy Knights were supposed to be here to save people. Why were they attacking Kia? He assumed that because the cave was quite dark, he had mistaken the girl for a goblin. But that didn't seem to be the case, as Loader angrily expressed his disdain for a goblin. Having dodged his attack, Khalees quickly tried to explain she was a human, but Loader told her to be silent because he knew who she was. However, he believed she had been defiled by the goblins and might even be pregnant with their child. It was laughable to him that someone as filthy as her would expect mercy from him. It would be better for her if she repented her sins and paid for them with death. Kelly begged him, insisting that even though she was captured, she hadn't been defiled by the goblins. Then she pointed to Lin Tian, explaining that he was the one who had protected her. But unfortunately, Loader didn't believe a word. She said the idea that a goblin had saved her and wasn't a human enemy was beyond the bounds of a believable story. He raised his sword to end her. Lin Tian couldn't believe what he was seeing. He didn't expect things to end so quickly. With no other choice, Lin Tian stepped forward without hesitation, pushing Khalees aside and facing Loader. He hoped there would be enough time for Khalees to escape. Lin Tian grabbed his crude weapon and lunged at Loader. This was an outcome he hadn't expected, but even if he had to sacrifice himself, he wanted to protect the girl. This could be the act that would prove he was once human. But before the collision, an aura enveloped Lin Tian, leaving. This magic came from a woman dressed in white. Her aura exuded holiness and solemnity. She demanded Loader stop because she felt this goblin was strange. This woman was none other than the Saint Ephra. Seizing the opportunity, Kelly crawled over and begged her to save them. Ephra helped Kelly to her feet and presented her to Loader, who had tried to kill her just minutes ago. Then Ephraim turned her attention to Lin Tian and asked if he could understand what she was saying. Lin Tian was trapped within the barrier according to what Kalia had told him. Ephron was the saint and the spokesperson for the divine temple. She could be his only hope of leaving this place alive. Lin Tian quickly responded that he could understand. He took a deep breath and kept saying he wasn't a monster of this world and he used to be human. But he became this way due to an accident. He could explain everything if she took him along. While Loader thought this goblin was just a bit smarter than the others. Ephra smiled. Goblins are usually stupid and lowly creatures. They can't think or speak fluently. But this goblin can speak, and this might be a blessing from the Holy Mother. The holy woman Eri turned to Kelly and asked her to confirm if this goblin really didn't hurt her. Kelly happily confirmed that Lin Tian not only didn't hurt her, but he protected her from other goblins and gave her food. This pleased Ephra. She realized the strangeness of the goblin. She decided to take it back to the temple and study it thoroughly before making any decision. Hearing this, Khalees was very happy because she fulfilled her promise to the goblin. Ephron then turned to Lin Tian and asked if he was willing to go with them. Hearing this, he was very happy. He immediately replied that he was willing. Finally, everything seemed to be getting better for Lin Tian because he was with someone who could listen and understand reason. With a snap of her fingers, Ephrak quickly broke the barrier that imprisoned Lin Tian. Then she ordered everyone to prepare to leave. Lin Tian felt a sense of safety about his future, which he was incredibly grateful for, so he immediately approached Effort to express his gratitude, promising that he would repay her. But as he looked closer at her face, he noticed a cruel smile that took him by surprise. The next thing he heard was a sound he was all too familiar with, the sound of metal piercing flesh. He knew what was happening, but he turned back in fear. The fear was immediately confirmed. Khalees was killed. The lifeless body lay motionless on the cold ground. Lin Tian was stunned, unable to move. The shock was too great. Just as he thought things were getting better, it turned out to be a cruel lie. At this moment, the voice of the woman he thought was the savior rang out along with the cruel laughter. She mocked his naivety and said that his willingly following her was the best way to repay her. And Lin Tian understood the cruel reality of this world.
If you liked this episode, then don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. The next episode of this manhwa will be released once this part reaches 1,000 views or 5 comments requesting the next part.